He set it all up. A dead raven lay split open and spread in the perfect layout on the sacrificial rock. The herbs and spices poured in lines wove the correct pattern. He'd arranged leaves along the sigil and tied a rag in the center of the raven's open chest. An uncorked bottle of wine stood to the side. As he clicked the striker to light the rag, he focused, going over the words in his head. If he could make this work, he would be granted an audience with Hale, the death pixie, to ask about the state of Lamblehen's protected mortality. A spark from the striker ignited the oiled rag. Watching the moon, Dagahan commenced the chant. The flame grew and ate its way down the rag. He gazed into the flame, searching for some indication of a presence. Where would it show this time? He drew near to the end of the chant, speeding up to race the flame, his hand on the bottle's neck. As Dagahan tipped the bottle over the fire, the wind picked up and blew it out too early. Damn! He smashed the bottle of wine across the setup and stabbed the broken neck of the bottle into the dead raven. His hand slipped down the slick glass and smashed onto the other shards, cutting him. He roared and swiped his arm across the rock, knocking everything to the ground. Dagahan collapsed on the rock, pressing his face into the bloody entrails until his tantrum passed.
Orenleia no longer waited for Dagahan's return. With the warmth washed out of his face, he'd become frightening. He moved around like a ghost, disregarding her and their son. When she worked up the nerve to ask him why he'd skipped so many meals, he yelled,
"Because I'm ill!"
He ran his fingers through his hair.
"Sorry, I'm not well these days. I'll be fine. It's just, I don't know."
He drifted out the door and disappeared into the rows of white trees. Falling to her knees, Orenleia stared at the forest through the open door. Dorhen wrapped his little arms around her neck and laid his head on her shoulder. Her heart slowed. She placed her hand on his head. At least she had her Segar. She would always have him. One day, in Dagahan's absence, she packed some clothes and led Dorhen past Dagahan's post barrier, many miles through Nor's forest terrain to her old village. Leading her young child by the hand, she squared her shoulders and walked into the little village from the dense trees. Little round houses were built along a large circular path, with a big round Destir hall standing in the centre. The male answer to clan authority, the elder's house, stood over on the north side. The practice yards were arranged on the west side, where the Syagar, young males, were practicing. Soon Dorhen would be among them. In the distance, childish voices growled and huffed as they exercised. The wooden fighting sticks clacked in a musical rhythm. At intervals, a gruff adult voice barked a new command, and the rhythm changed. Not so long ago, Orenleia and her friends had gone to the practice yards to watch the ranks of adult Sagan in their sparring. Every young Farha dreamed of growing up and running her own household. Each Farha tasked herself with studying the Sagan closely, and after becoming full Fairhain, chose the best one out of the group to marry. Experience was critical. The young Segar worked hard to graduate to the Sagan order to be considered eligible. By strict commandment, only true-blooded Norians could be eligible for marriage. If the Destir decided one was tainted with foreign lineage, and the possibility of the overseas taint, he was branded Saracran and banished to the wilds if not executed. 6 short years had passed since she was a Farha. The unexpected sight of Dagahan lurking about the forest had happened so fast. She would never forget the first day she had met him in the wild strawberry patch.
"Excuse me."
Orenleia dropped her basket, her eyes darting upward. An odd Segan stood between 2 trees, bowing toward each other like a doorway. When he removed his hood, yellow hair spilled out and shone in the dappled sunlight. All the Segan in her clan had dark hair. "Yes?"
"I see you've got water. Can I trouble you for a sip of it? I've walked a long way today."
"Of course, Segan." She untied the water gourd from her belt. His hand brushed the back of hers when he took it, an improper contact, but she forgave him for it. He smiled, and his vibrant blue eyes reflected like a butterfly's wings. He plopped down on the dirt before her, his layers of robes pooling around him, and she did the same. Her training helped her judge the best Sagan for marriage, and by the look of his form, he showed promise. All his features were exotic, like his hair colour. He wiped his mouth on his sleeve and handed the gourd back.
You've done me a great kindness. Thank you, lass. You are purely a lass, aren't you?
Not exactly. I'm 19. I'm practically Fairhain. Won't be long now, and I'll be married.
Sorry, you strike me as young as all.
Young? What nerve. Orenlia straightened her back and pushed a lock of hair behind her ear. What clan are you from?
McShivey. That's my family name. I'm Dorhen.
Where is your clan located?
I didn't grow up there, wherever it is. I've been in the human lands most of my life, especially Thedir, which is in the south.
He pointed out to the side.
Not far out of Nor. I've been all over, up north as well.
Really? Have you seen Han Helen's Gate?
Seen it? I've been on the other side of it.
Her eyes widened, and she caught herself. My name is Orenlia, soon to be Fairhain, of the Lin Harry clan. We have the greatest forge in Nor. We supply armour to the royal army. He cocked his head to the side with a smirk.
Impressive.
She reached out her hand, and he took it between both of his warm palms. Her face heated, and butterflies raged in her stomach. She cleared her throat. The back of her neck grew damp. Are you married, Dorhen? He laughed.
I couldn't be so lucky.
Well, I'm sure you do great honour to your family.
I try.
Why was he still smiling? He'd be in so much trouble if her clansmen found him talking to her like this. She didn't make a move to leave or raise an alarm. Would it really be so bad if this attention continued? After they clasped hands, he moved closer to her, and she allowed it.
Looks like you're lucky, though,
he said, reaching over to brush a purple petal which had fallen from the trees off her shoulder. Once again, an improper gesture. His smile finally went limp when he ran his fingers across her collarbone. Her heart raced again, and he drew his hand away as she replaced it with her own. She pulled her collar tighter together. His smile vanished, and his eyes searched hers. Though she trembled all over, she didn't raise an alarm. Fear wasn't exactly the thing causing her quaking. Remembering her basket of strawberries, she reached for it. When she moved, he frowned, but she didn't leave. Instead, she held it out to him. Are you also hungry? His smile returned with a heavy exhalation.
Thank you.
His voice, though deep and grating, it drew her in, intensified her jitters. She watched him eat each one. He didn't eat many, as politeness dictated, and placed the basket on the ground. Will you tell me about the lands you've been to? She tried to control her breathing and relax her spine.
Of course I will, lass. Anything for the person who saved me today. I might have died of thirst.
He smiled deeper and touched his index finger to her forehead as if she were a child. His intoxicating attention made her smile nonetheless. He told her an amusing story about his childhood in Thedir, of how he used to play in the streets, and about the day he had helped some old human man find his lost coin purse. The man rewarded him with a magic button. It wasn't actually magic, but Dorhen accepted the reward anyway.
I still have it. See?
From his pocket, he drew out an old wooden button, dark with age and scarred, a tool they didn't use in Nor.
The humans often use these to close parts of their clothing, like this.
He pointed to his shoulder, where his outermost mantle was fastened together with 3 similar objects. The sun sank low, and Orenlia would have to go home soon. She grabbed his hand in both of hers and tugged. Follow me. You can stay the night in my village, she said to his questioning expression. His smile vanished, and she longed for it.
I can't. But meet me here tomorrow evening and I'll tell you another story.
She made it her priority for the day to return to the spot. Long before sunset, he was already waiting for her. They talked for over an hour. He smiled and touched her forehead like he had yesterday, and told her a story as promised. And she listened to his voice, occasionally closing her eyes. She took his hand again and urged him to accompany her to the Destia Hall for evaluation. He refused, and instead begged her not to tell anyone about him. When she left him, instead of returning home, she banged on the door to the Destia Hall. None of the Destia maidens had disrobed from their full regalia yet. Their hair hung long and loose, and their faces displayed pearly white paint with a purple stripe running across the eyes. They let her in and granted her an audience. Noticing her state of energy and excitement, She asked them to grant her her Fairhain ceremony early. No, the head maiden said, her voice flat. Orenlia pressed them, but one couldn't argue with the Destir after such a severe answer. Why not? The maidens behind the leader were shaking their heads. You think we haven't seen a Faha in your state before? You're asking this favour because you want to get married quickly. You don't get married because you are in a momentary state of lust. You get married because you are ready to give your alliance, love and service to a Sagan for the rest of your life. Orenlia lowered her head in shame. Go home and go to bed. Pray to the Bright One and tell him all of your feelings. Repeat that until you fall asleep. When you awaken, the state you're in will have passed. Orenlia ran outside after they dismissed her. She didn't go home. She ran back into the tangle of forest where she had left Dorhen. She found him lingering there, waiting and smiling, and she returned for several nights after. She didn't care how he disregarded her clan's laws. She wanted him. Eventually, they were caught together in a bout of passion. The head Destir maiden arrived with her father and the village elder with his rabble of sneering Sagan, their faces burning red, blades in hand. But the head maiden kept calm and stern. As the roaring elder lifted his spear to skewer the foreigner, the head maiden grabbed the weapon's haft. "Not yet!" she cried. The Destir's pearly face paint glowed fresh in the soft morning sunlight. Her black hair added shadow to her already grim face. Orenlia stood in her undermost gown, grasping her discarded garments to her bosom. Heeding the Destir maiden's command, the Sehgan remained poised. She approached Orenlia, who shrank under her shadow. "Choose," she ordered. Orenlia didn't need an explanation. She didn't have to weigh the options. She stepped backward, shifting her eyes from the maiden to her father's distraught face as he dropped his bow and arrow.
"No!"
he cried, but the elder restrained him, and the maiden also put her hands on him to try to calm him. Orenlia set her jaw, took Dorhen's hand, and allowed him to lead her away. She hadn't seen her father since. On the day she left, she must have already been pregnant. Now, walking through her old village, Orenlia and her son met a mixture of reactions. Few smiled. Most stared at her in confusion or wonder. Orenlia waved and smiled at an old neighbour Fairhain whose eyes darted away after meeting Orenlia's. Her mouth curled and slacked, and she retreated into her house. Orenlia tightened her hand around Dorhen's and moved on in search of her old house. "Mother," Dorhen said, "these houses are funny." "They're elvish houses, lad," she replied. "This one is where I was born. The inside is like a big circle. We sleep on the floor." As Dorhen stared at the building, his mouth dropped open. She pointed to the pavilion next to the house. "I used to cook in that kitchen. We cook outside in the clan village. Will we eat outside too?" Unless it's too cold or raining too hard," he grinned. "I like being outside." "I know you do." She tried her best to keep her smile for Dorhen's sake. The house hadn't changed at all in 7 years. A nice blanket of green moss collected on the north side of the same old brush roof, and the chimney leaned a little like always. She led Dorhen toward the pavilion. The wobbly clay cups she'd made while learning pottery hung from tiny hooks. A flat stone on the pavilion wall still showed a chalk drawing she had made at age 12. This might not be her home anymore, but it could be again. Her father, strong as ever, sauntered down the forest path with a bundle of wood on one shoulder. Orenlia took Dorhen's hand again and ran down the path to meet him. Strands of brown hair, the same colour as hers, were falling out of his ponytail. She waited before saying anything. He glanced at her and dropped the wood. His mouth dropped open as he regarded her and Dorhen.
"Where is he?"
he asked, his voice sharp as a snake's bite. "Dorhen is busy," Orenlia said.
"Why are you here?"
Orenlia's eyes moved to the ground, and she choked back tears. "I want to come home." She dropped to her knees, leaned over, and placed her forehead on her crossed arms on the ground. She'd plant her face in the mud if it would be humbling enough. Reaching one arm to Dorhen, she tugged at his miniature tunic. At her prodding, he copied her pose, and they waited.
"You made the choice,"
her father said. She raised her head again.
And I pleaded with the Destier long after you left.
His furious voice rang at her like thunder. When he stopped, she struggled for words. But
You think I didn't have all the Seigun rallied to slaughter him on the spot? We were ready, but the Destier forbade it. It's over now.
He squinted at her.
You made the choice. The Destier silenced us and validated your marriage, though you were long gone.
Orenlia stood, but stayed bent. Dorhen stood too, and she took his hand again. She paused to wonder why wisdom and love didn't go hand in hand. Why had she allowed herself to become a disgrace to her clan? Beholding her child's beautiful face and trusting eyes, she curled her hand tighter around his. He was worth all the trouble. Let's talk to the Destier, she said, and the elder.
Go talk to them all if you wish. The Destier will tell you the same thing they told me 6 years ago.
She frowned and turned her face away.
Orenlia, listen to me. The elder might grant you citizenship again, but that one can't stay.
He pointed at her 6-year-old child. She cupped her hands over his ears. Shh! How could you say such poison in front of him? She let Dorhen go and stepped forward, clenching her fists, her face twisted.
You were in a hurry to be an adult, so be one. Listen, the Destier will never let him stay. They don't know the origin of your husband. For all we know, he and your son might both carry the overseas taint.
The overseas taint was an ominous deviation in the Norian bloodline, the main reason their customs forbade marrying foreign elves, and the reason her marriage to Dorhen had brought such trouble. But what a ridiculous superstition. Dorhen did not have the taint. He's my child. I know better than anyone. There is no shadow over Dorhen. Her father stared at her in silence for several moments, clearly aghast.
Is that his name?
Her teeth clenched. Her father's voice rose.
That name. The forbidden name. Who named him?
I did, she said.
I know you're not so ignorant of your own people's customs. Or perhaps I'm wrong about everything. You let a foreigner court you. You ran away before your Fairhain naming ceremony. And now you've used the forbidden name and brought it among us?
Well, what could I do? She asked. I was so certain about this name. She felt faint as she recalled the incidents with the spirit in the forest and the strange frog Dorhen had caught. She desired to do right by her son in any way possible. By giving him his name, had she damned him instead? Her father frowned as she worked her throat against a rising soreness. She wanted to see her mother, though how warmly would her mother receive her? She put her face in her hands, fighting some tears. A strong male voice called from the west side of the forest.
Orenlia!
A cold shock ran down her spine. Dorhen. Her father scowled. Orenlia twisted around. Had he followed her? Was he angry? Marching toward her in his tall, weathered boots and knee-length tabard from the human lands, Dorhen shot a wary glare at her father. Orenlia winced as he slid his hands around her. She had no one else to turn to. But since Dorhen offered his embrace, she took it, laying her head on his chest. He squeezed his warm, wool-clad arms around her and stroked her hair. She'd hoped to escape from this very Seigun this morning. Now it appeared he'd come to her rescue. Orenlia's head clouded up.
Who hurt my Orenlia?
He asked, his warm voice rumbling in her ear. His fingers grazed the back of her hand and across her collarbone. He finished by touching his fingertip to her forehead as he often did.
Toss them behind you,
he said. An old line adults recited to children when they faced a problem. His gestures filled her with warmth and calm. She slipped her arms around his waist and sighed until he peeled them away.
Now let's go home.
He picked up their son. With Dorhen perched in one arm, he wrapped his other around her shoulders and guided her away.
Dorhen!
Her father roared from behind them.
Take the child, but leave her.
He didn't respond.
Dorhen!
Orenlia had no intention of choosing her old home over her son. When she glanced back at her father, her husband tightened his grip around her and they walked back home.
Dorhen returned to his practice for one more day and returned to collapse on their bed. The world around him disappeared for a while until he registered the sensation of someone prodding his back. He jerked upright and found Orenlia beside him. He sighed and rubbed his face. Orenlia, he said, and leaned closer to her. He took her face in his hands, savoring the sight of her. Her eyes darted between his. I'm sorry. Listen. He closed his eyelids as a filmy, hazy side effect from one of last night's spells pressed on them. He forced them back open, urgent to formulate a plan. We won't stay here long. We're going to get away. Understand?
Why? What's going on?
Please listen. Trust me. Oh, damn, I'm a fool. Leia. He lowered his head, the door to his consciousness closing. Some of those side effects were murder. This was no time to sleep. Daylight showed through some cracks in the walls. He moved his hands from her face to her shoulders. I'm going to fix it, all right?
I don't know what you're talking about anymore. I haven't understood you for a while.
His eyes closed again. Last night, the stars had warned him that Lambalin drew close. The constellation of the cloven-headed man, the one always attributed to Dagahan and his brother, had appeared straight across the sky, east to west, from the open door. The gallows aligned between them, which always warned Dagahan about incoming danger. The adoptive parent, a constellation of a tall figure holding a smaller figure's hand, rose in the east behind the cloven-headed man. Lambalin might be out looking for Dorhen also. I'm going to explain it to you, on the road. Get Dorhen ready. She reached toward his lapel, where one of his bloody bandages showed. He took her hand before she could inspect. I'll explain it all to you very soon. You'll be better off knowing. He drifted off into a dream.
Dorhen sniffled and swallowed to make himself stop crying. From now on, you'll listen to Mother, won't you? Mother scolded while she rubbed a cold yellow ointment on his hand. Yes, Mother. The frog. It was so pretty and shiny. But it was hot, wasn't it? I told you it needed several more hours to cool after coming out of the kiln. You didn't listen. Mother had helped him make the little frog out of clay. She painted a special watery clay mix on it and pushed it into the fire after fanning it all day. Some cups she'd made went in with the little frog. When she pulled the clay things out earlier that evening, the frog had turned a beautiful, shiny dark green with little pink specks on its back. I worried about him all night, Mother. She giggled. It's a clay frog, Gwen Hager. He would have been fine. A few hours' wait was all he needed. Now look at your hand. You're an impatient sager, aren't you? Sorry. She wound a strip of cloth around his palm. His fingertips hurt too. They were turning white and puffy. Don't be sorry. From now on, you'll listen to Mother. And you understand fire now, don't you? Yes. When Father came out of the bedroom. Finally. Dorhen wiped his eyes on his sleeve. He didn't want Father to see him cry. Father, he said, standing to meet him as squarely as he could while Mother worked on his hand. Can you take me fishing soon? I'm old enough now. Father stayed busy, pulling an old sack from the trunk and going to the cupboard to shove all the dried mushrooms and spices they owned into it. Father didn't bother pausing when he said,
Of course you are.
What are you doing? Mother asked.
I told you to get ready. We're leaving.
He finally gave his attention to Dorhen.
We're going on a trip. There'll be tons of opportunities to learn how to fish when we're out in the wilds.
Dorhen threw his hands in the air. Hooray! Mother jerked his bandaged hand back down and continued wrapping his fingers tighter than before.
We're leaving tonight.
Father continued.
We'll be gone for a long time, so I'm counting on you to be tough. Let's see your arm.
Dorhen pushed up his sleeve and flexed.
Perfect.
Father slapped his hands together. Mother took Dorhen's hand back again.
But you'll get better. You'll work on yourself and be the best you can be, won't you?
Dorhen balled his free hand into a fist and raised it high. Yes! We can't leave, Mother said over his enthusiastic response. I recently finished the new dishes. We haven't eaten today. And Dorhen burned his hand.
Sagan have been known to travel with worse injuries, my dream. Go on and pack some extra clothes now.
He's not Sagan yet. It's getting late. We're not going anywhere until Dorhen eats. Let's talk tomorrow. Father tied his best knife to his belt.
Tonight,
he said. After he eats, he'll be sleepy. Who'll carry him?
Me.
He took a breath.
Trust me.
Mother bit her lip. Fine, we'll leave tonight. But we're going nowhere until he eats, and we're out of everything. I'll need to dig some potatoes. Father put his hand out really fast.
Stay. I'll go get some potatoes. You stay back and hurry with the fire and the water.
I'll go too, Father. Dorhen tried to run forward, but Mother still held his arm and she squeezed it, holding him back. Mother, can't I go? Her eyes grew big, and they shifted to father and back. Was all she said. She stood and marched toward father, threw aside his tabard, and took the knife off his belt. Without this, you can. Even though she said it to Dorhen, she stared at father hard. Then she leaned down to look Dorhen in the face and said, I can hear from far, far away. If you need me, shout as loud as you can, understand? An excited tremor rattled his throat. Yes, mother. He ran over to put on his belt and shoes before joining father's side. Be quick, she said to father.
Exactly what I intend, my dream. Let's go, Sagar.
Wait! Dorhen returned to his mother's side as she sat alone by the hearth, pulling her shawl tight around her arms. Don't be so worried, mother. He kissed her cheek. Her eyelashes fluttered before she reopened them as he leaned back again. I'll be fine. I can carry a lot of potatoes, and while I'm out, I'll scout the area. I'll keep you safe. He turned back to father. Father, he said as they went out the door, look at my injury. I didn't even cry. At the place where the potatoes grew, Dorhen got to work digging his hands into the dirt like mother had shown him long ago. He knew what kind of plant to look for to find a potato underground. After digging the first one out, he said, I'm going to bring home 100 potatoes. She'll be happy. Father? Father hadn't joined him yet. He stood motionless, staring at the barrier posts with the bird feathers and rocks dangling from them. Father? Father's hands shook. He rushed forward to inspect one of the broken posts. It leaned over with a split at its middle.
Dorhen,
Father said. He waited for whatever father would order. We can fix it, Dorhen said. Father lifted him and ran. The run jostled him all the way. He got dizzy after a while. The trees rushed past them and far into the dark distance over his father's shoulder. He'd dropped the potato he'd found, and now his hands dirtied up father's yellow hair. Why are we running? Father breathed fast and didn't answer any questions. Talking was too hard to do while they ran anyway. The potato patch was kind of far away from the house, so it took a long time to run back, though not as long as walking. Father was wheezing when they finally arrived. He stopped in the bushes before entering the yard and held Dorhen's hand firm, keeping him from running toward the house. A soft blue light hung over the entire house like a draping sheet, making the whole house glow in the dark.
No.
Father whispered.
Dorhen,
he said and leaned down.
Stay here. Hide.
Father started saying strange words after he said to hide. He stepped over the twigs and through the bushes, saying those words Dorhen didn't understand. A few seconds later, Father's left hand glowed a soft pink colour. Dorhen couldn't help but stare. How did he do that? Father approached the house very slowly and reached for the door. When he touched the handle, a bright wave of fire spread across the whole house from his glowing hand. Father had set their house on fire. Dorhen screamed and lunged out of the bushes. Mother! Father leaped backward and landed on his bottom. His mouth gaped open, his eyes staring when Dorhen got close. Dorhen went to the door, but flames danced all across the wooden surface. The door handle burned like the clay frog, and he jerked his hand back.
No!
Father yelled. He shoved Dorhen toward the bushes again. Father, what did you do? Why did you do that?
Hide, I said!
Father ran around to the other side of the house. The roof drooped for a moment, and then caved into the house with a thunderous shout amidst the roar of the flames. It fell in with Mother trapped inside. Before Dorhen could run toward it, another person grabbed his shoulder. The person who approached behind him was standing in a cloud around his feet. Long, long hair trailed all the way to the ground. Mother had once told him older Sagan grew their hair longer. This one's hair was blue. Who are you? The new person put a finger to his lips like Mother did on nights when Father came home late. The blue-haired person stretched out his hand.
It's not safe here. Follow me.
His voice was soft and soothing and louder in Dorhen's ears than the burning house. His shiny blue eyes made Dorhen stare. He tried to turn back to his house as it crumbled into nothing but a big bonfire with Mother inside. Trapped inside like his frog in the kiln, but the stranger's eyes glimmered more.
Take my hand, Sufferborn.
Once again, Dorhen tried to look at his burning house, but more voices, not his father's, shouted through the trees.
Get the child.
They wore red cloaks and held knives in their gloved fists.
Hurry!
The blue-haired stranger said, extending his hand toward Dorhen's chest. Dorhen tore his gaze away and viewed the scene behind him. The red-cloaked men were running toward him, one with a looped rope in his hands. Where had father gone? He wanted to call for father, but there was no time. Before the scary people approached, Dorhen gave the stranger his hand. The cloud around his feet expanded and swirled around Dorhen too, hiding the hot, fiery chaos that used to be his home.